Good morning, Carly and Ashley. The White House says the president is acting on a campaign promise. The president saying on Truth Social the homeless have to move out immediately. We'll give you places to stay, but far from the Capitol. The criminals, you don't have to move out. We're going to put you in jail where you belong. It's all going to happen very fast, just like the border. The president is ramping up federal resources to fight violent crime. The Washington Post reports the FBI is dispatching more than 100 agents to help local police stop crime and carjackings. A decision to call up the National Guard could also come later today. The president has already mobilized several federal agencies, including the ATF, DEA, and U.S. Park Police, to participate in these efforts.
Federal law enforcement is always on the street in D.C., and we always work cooperatively with them. I suspect that his announcement is that he is surging federal law enforcement, which he's talked about, and he may talk about even larger numbers or longer periods of time. He's interested in being in neighborhoods and fighting crime in neighborhoods.
D.C.'s mayor says violent crime in the nation's capital has dropped. But over the weekend, police say a young man shot at another group of young people with a stolen gun in a popular neighborhood in D.C. He was arrested and there were no victims. However, a juvenile curfew is in effect in the area now where the shooting took place. The president says his announcement this morning will not only be about crime, it would also be about beautifying D.C., saying the city is only getting dirtier and less attractive.
What's going on? Good morning, and it is indeed a good morning. Going live here from Washington, D.C., just blocks away from where President Trump is expected to make a bombshell announcement. I'm Danny Dayarbina. I'm filling in for Benny Johnson today, who is getting some very special scoops all over the country. I'm sure by now you've probably watched our expose on Jasmine Crockett, who, oh man, we absolutely exposed her as a fraud. So that's we've got many other cool videos coming your way. In the meantime, can we put up the shot of the White House? I believe President Trump is expected to walk out any minute now, and he's teed up this announcement as DC's Liberation Day. We've seen Trump do this before when it comes to tariffs. Liberation Day, of course, when he held other countries to the same standards that they hold us, giving them equal tariffs that they put on us. So what President Trump is expected to do today is to really crack down on the crime that is so rampant in DC. He started it off by putting out this tweet over the weekend. And producers, if we can get that to put it up, that'd be great. Where he said, "Homeless must leave DC immediately." It was his quote. Immediately was a quote. And then he also told every criminal in DC, "Stay in the city because we're going to arrest you." It's such a different tone from what we've heard from city leaders for the past, decades, really, where it's been crime just rampant across the city. I'll tell you what, I was in Florida, free state of Florida, for the past 2 months, and I just got back to DC this week, and I'll tell you, it's gotten worse. I love this city, and I want to see it thrive, and it's so sad when you come back, and all of a sudden you see these new homeless encampments popping up, and you see, sort of druggies walking the street. It's no way to live, and you want your kids to be able to walk to the park, walk to school, feeling safe. And so what President Trump is expected to do today is finally take control of our capital. We have some shock. There you go. So you see some reporters right there in the Brady briefing room doing their stand-up shots. It's a really good indication that President Trump is expected to walk out any minute. You see the presidential seal right there on the podium. This is going to be big. We had President Trump's truth from today, where he said, "This is Liberation Day." If we can put that up just to set it up. There we go. Liberation Day in DC. We are taking our capital back. And of course, that was shared by President Trump's excellent press secretary, Caroline Levitt. Um, it is going to be an announcement. There's people who are saying he might, sort of unleash the National Guard on DC, which would be, I mean, that would be one way to clean up the city. I'll tell you what, like it's gotten really bad. And so it's going to take a muscular response like the one President Trump is posing right here to take it back. There's no reason why our capital or the crown jewel of our country should look the way it does. There's people defecating on the side of the street. I mean, this morning I literally saw a tweet from a DOJ employee, a great DOJ employee, Hunter Pollock. He filmed this guy right outside of the DOJ, essentially taking a dump on the street. I mean, this is no way to live, especially seeing the way our capital has been sort of disgraced the past couple of years. So President Trump coming in, promising some very muscular action. Will he federalize DC? That's the big question people are asking. And so we have also crime statistics that show just how awful the homicide rate has gotten in DC. Look at this. So these are different capital cities from across the world. We are by far worse than the worst third world countries on earth when it comes to our homicide rate. Look at that. We're way at the top. You have Mexico City, that's known as like the murder capital of the world, is somehow way lower than we are by like by orders of magnitude. I mean, this is insane. And our leaders have just accepted it. In fact, they've actually encouraged it. They say, if you rob less than $1,000, oh, you won't go to jail. You're good. You can rob. And guess what happens? Crime goes up, obviously. If you incentivize looting, you get more looting. And quite the opposite happens when you have someone like President Trump that comes in and says, no, we're going to put you straight in jail. Don't even bother leaving the city because we're going to find you. That's a response needed from leaders when you're trying to crack down on crime. You see numbers like this, and it's unacceptable, and it's frankly it's sad. You want to feel safe when you're walking around, and it's a beautiful city. I don't know if let me know in the comments if you've gotten a chance to come to DC. It's a beautiful city, but it's so sad what's happened over the past couple of years. Honestly, more like a decade when it comes to the crime and the homelessness. And a big thing we've been seeing, Trump calls them the youths, but it's a bunch of juveniles who will just terrorize certain areas of DC because they feel like it. And the mayor and the police chief, they've done nothing. They've done nothing. And so President Trump is coming in and saying that we're going to crack down on it. Just this weekend, I mean, again, so I got back to DC Wednesday, so a couple days ago, and right off the bat, there's already like shootings going on. Just this weekend in Navy Yard, it's a very popular neighborhood right by the Capitol. I mean, this is like 2-3 blocks maximum from the Capitol. There are a bunch of juveniles who just decided to take over the neighborhood, and they were shooting at each other. I mean, there was literally like shots fired blocks away from the Capitol, and this was after Trump said, we're gonna come down hard, and so that sent the DC Police Department into panic. We have their curfew tweet, but they put out this tweet saying like, okay, Navy Yard now is a curfew for all juveniles, and our favorite resident legal expert Mike Davis tweeted like, he's like, they're panicking. They know President Trump is going to come down hard, and now they're all of a sudden trying to act tough on crime, but it's not going to work. It's going to take a really muscular response. I'll tell you, just this weekend, I mean, you see an influx of federal agents around DC, in the on the National Mall, which is like right where you have the Lincoln Memorial and the Washington Monument. You had DEA agents, Drug Enforcement Agency agents walking and patrolling just to make sure there's no like rampant drug abuse going on, steps away from the White House. It's gotten really degenerate. Yeah, you can see right there. This is the tweet that the DC Police Department put out, declaring a curfew effectively around this neighborhood. I mean, it's just funny to me that they all of a sudden decided to act tough on crime. But you need muscular action to follow these threats, and I think President Trump has the street cred to validate his threats. They're very credible threats that he's going to come after crime and criminals. And so what this announcement is going to be, I'm like, listen, as a DC resident, I'm extremely excited about what's about to happen. Just seconds away at the White House. Can we punch over to the shot real quick? I just want to see what that looks like. Again, CC reporters are seated, so they've done their stand-up shots, and now they're just patiently awaiting the president. So any moment now, I think we'll see the president, walk out of those blue doors. We know Caroline Levitt is known to pray right before she walks out of those doors. Maybe that's what Trump's doing right now. Maybe he's praying for this country, praying for for this briefing. And so again, you can see reporters there seated. That's a really good sign. So let's keep an eye on this shot because I think the president is expected to walk out any second now. Um, man, Judge Jeanine, who is now put in charge of DC, had something to say precisely on this matter of juveniles terrorizing DC. We have the clip for you, I believe, and it is. I mean, it really just illuminates what the vision is here to make America safe. But you start with the Capitol, the crown jewel of this country, and or at least it should be a shining beacon. DC should be a shining beacon as a capital, and it's not. And so here we go. This is the clip. It's great. Listen to Judge Jeanine in her own words. Let's go.
Decision for the president. And I think that what the president was saying is that we're seeing far too much crime being committed by young people, 14, 15, 16, 17 years old, that I can't get my hands on. I mean, I don't know if you've seen some of the pictures, but, young people are coddled. And they don't need to be coddled anymore. They need to be held accountable. They shouldn't be going to arts and crafts in family court. They need to understand that enough is enough, and that the D.C. Council has to repeal some of these absurd ordinances and laws that they've had passed that do nothing to protect the people of this city and of this district. And I will reference a case that I wrote an op-ed piece on that I've been talking about for weeks. A young person gets on a bus with an illegal gun. There is a family on the bus. He makes a decision to shoot someone in the chest. To me, that's intent to kill. But for the grace of God, that individual did not die. Now, he's got a gun. It's illegal. He used the gun. Guess what the sentence was? I got a conviction. The sentence was probation. We can't have that. And by the way, he wasn't a kid. He was 19. These are the rules of the D.C. Council. They've got to be changed. We've got to have the ability to let young people know that they're going to be accountable. And if you look at some of these pictures of these kids being beaten by crews and bloodied up, and you want to tell me that, it's only a kid who did it, no. Take a look at the bloodied up face and body, and you'll know that it's more than little kids doing this kind of thing.
That's what you need. You need that response. You need the credible threat that you're going to go after dangerous criminals and clean up the city. And you saw Judge Jeanine there, sharp as ever, going in hard. So this is, this announcement, I'm telling you, I'm very excited about it. Should be a bombshell announcement. President Trump teasing it as Liberation Day for our nation's capital. We have scenes actually from Navy Yard over the weekend. This was Saturday. Like this was a couple days ago. Shots fired. I mean, it was. These are the scenes. I mean, how do you? Actually, this is a great clip. So we'll play the Navy Yard one later. But this one shows Trump he's not waiting for the announcement. He's already been in the works. You see here federal agents. This is a video taken from a neighborhood in D.C. I'm not sure which one, but President Trump unleashing federal agents on criminals, and you can hear the panic in their voices. This is a great one. Let's play it.
Oh my God! What the? Oh, they really hopping out. Oh, that's real. They really coming to your trenches and jumping out and bagging your bro. They ain't all type of shit, boy. What the?
There you go. So criminals are terrified, which should tell you a lot about what President Trump is about to announce. We saw that door briefly open. Brian Glenn, of course. Okay, so there's a few more reporters filing in. Maybe he was doing a one-on-one with Trump before he walks out. Could be. I have a good feeling Trump is about to walk out. Okay. There we go. I think we see the door slightly open. No? Okay. We'll keep an eye on it. In the meantime, we have the scenes out of Navy Yard. This was, again, a bunch of juveniles who just decided to terrorize this neighborhood that's blocks away from the Capitol. This is where a lot of members of Congress live, a lot of their staffers live. Again, because of its proximity to the Capitol, you just can't get closer. It is like literally right there. And I mean, these are this is your nation's capital. Just play it. They had FBI on the scene, so they had federal agents there. Yeah, you get the idea. But I mean, it's not a life. It's nowhere to live. And President Trump is promising to clean it up. I think we see the door is opening in the briefing room. Let's see. There's a lot of phones out. Okay. I know we keep jumping back and forth. It's just we're not going to miss a second, guys. The second Trump walks out, we're going to take him directly so you guys don't miss a second of the action. Okay. We're keeping an eye on it. All right. You want another example of what the sort of juveniles are doing around DC? This was 4th of July. So this is a moment where you're supposed to celebrate your country. Maybe grill a burger, not like Chuck Schumer. You're actually going to cook your burger and melt the cheese. But you're just going to, it's a time for celebration. And what you saw is in that same neighborhood, Navy Yard. So this is, again, this is steps away from the Capitol. What you saw were these juveniles going in and shooting fireworks into the windows of people who were living there. So they have their windows down, and they would shoot fireworks into their windows, which is like the most insane thing. You can see it right there. It's on your screen. Again, members of Congress live here. I know for a fact members of Congress live like right on that street, and they're just shooting fireworks into their windows. I mean, it's the most insane thing, and they get away with it because our leaders just frankly don't care. It's a sick thing that I may not be able to understand what's the motivation exactly to watch your city burn to ashes. But that is the leadership DC has had thus far. President Trump promising to fix that today, Liberation Day. So I'm very excited as to what Trump is about to say. Speaking about a city on fire, this was just a couple years ago. Thugs just unilaterally burnt down DC, literally to the ground, steps away from the White House, actually on the White House complex, like on the grounds of the White House. They burned down entire buildings, like to the ground, to smithereens. And I mean, nothing happens. They actually built, this was during the BLM riots, they actually built a monument for them, a massive monument taking up the entire width of a street with Black Lives Matter, not just painted on the street, but like drilled into the ground. That was their punishment for burning down sections of the White House while President Trump was in the White House. It was they got a monument built for them. So that gives you a really good idea as to the type of consequences that these thugs have been facing. It's not just none. It's like they've actually been rewarded for their crimes. And so President Trump, there's so much you could announce he's going to federalize DC. Let me know, chat. Maybe we'll pin a poll. Like, do you think Trump's about to federalize DC? Do you think he's going to unleash the National Guard? This is sort of this is like what we've been hearing in the rumor mill. Apparently, people are saying he's expected to release about like 1,000 federal guard troops in DC, which DC is actually a very large city. So more reason to be able to control it. But we have very incompetent leaders in the city, not President Trump, it's city leaders, Democrats who have just forsaken this town. And so they're saying he might, unleash the National Guard, which really clean up the city. There's just, I went to school not too far from in DC, blocks away from the White House as well. And you would walk out of class and you had to pass by massive homeless encampments. And this was so the class was right across the street from the State Department. So you had the classroom building, then you had like a homeless encampment, like an actual tent city with like 100 tents minimum. And then you had the State Department on the other side of the street. Like these are supposed to be like the nicest areas of DC, right? Like State Department, it's a big deal. And it was just in it. It was like a third world country. And so Trump actually, he said, we're going to clean up the city. We're going to relocate the homeless. And enough is enough. We're done with the crime. We're done with the, people shooting themselves up with drugs in the streets and shooting themselves with guns. Like it's over. That day is gone. And so I'm really excited to see what Trump is going to announce. Trump is one of those guys who loves to build up the anticipation. So he's got every single reporter seated there. I'm sure every camera is on right now. And I mean, people know he's about to make a really big announcement. Chat, let me know what you think. I'm looking at the chat right now. I'm curious to see, you guys are very in tune with the news as well. I would love to see what you guys are hearing. But it is going to be a bombshell announcement. And you can see it, like you can feel it in DC. There's like a little bit of a, people know there's a big change coming. So yeah, very cool. Yeah, I'm looking at people are saying National Guard. I'm just reading the chat right now. National Guard. I tend to agree. I think that might be it. But he might federalize. I mean, there's so much that can happen here. Martial law in DC, people are saying. Trump is a man of big action. So this could be really historic right here. Yep. So President Trump, again, waiting any minute now, he will walk out and we will get a good sense of what this announcement is going to be. We have a clip that is, shocking, but again, this is from the summer of 2020. It's an aerial shot of DC burning to the ground. And we've got it for you. We'll play it for you just so you can see this was DC under your, previous leadership. Let's go full screen with this just so you can hear like these reporters trying to describe it.
Against the sky, we've circled for you the smoke from the fire that Garrett was talking about. You see it there when we widen out. Happy to report that Engine 3 of the D.C. Fire Department has arrived, but that may not do the trick. They've got to be able to stretch hose lines over and finish the job, and that requires security, and that requires police. What a striking shot across the river to Arlington, Virginia, but including their Washington Monument, Jefferson Memorial. And let's just take a half a second and reflect on one of the things Steve Schmidt just said. Quote, no one in the country who is trusted in the country. In the last 2 hours since we've been on the air, the president has tweeted in all caps, fake news. And we'll leave the judgments up to the viewers seeing these live pictures. He is inside that building. And if you don't think he is watching television on a night like this, well, then you haven't been paying attention.
I mean, you can literally see like buildings being burnt down to ashes. It's unreal. And so I think that the change that's coming is it's not just encouraging, but it's absolutely necessary to the survival of the city. There is a clip, very interesting clip of President Trump, and I think you'll get a good sense of where his mind is at when he's making this announcement. Speaking about federalizing DC, is that what's about to happen? Is President Trump about to walk out of those blue doors and federalize DC? That would be quite the announcement. Let's hear President Trump in his own words.
We have tremendous power at the White House to run places when we have to. We could run DC. I mean, we're looking at DC. We don't want crime in DC. We want the city to run well. Susie Wiles is working very closely with the mayor, and they're doing all right. I mean, in the sense that we would run it so good, it would be run so proper. We'd get the best person to run it. The crime would be down to a minimal, would be much less. And we're thinking about doing it. To be honest with you, we want a capital that's run flawlessly, and it wouldn't be hard for us to do it. And we've had a good relationship with the mayor, and we're testing it to see if it works. But New York City will run properly. We're going to bring New York back. I love New York.
There you go. So President Trump speaking right there about taking control of this city. It's not just a city. Again, it's a capital of your country, and the leaders here just take no pride in it. It's just like they just enjoy watching it get destroyed, and it really is quite sad. But I think today is really a turning point. We have some breaking news, I believe. So let's put that up. This is just in. President Trump will now deploy hundreds of National Guardsmen to Washington, D.C. in a rapid bid to restore order and take back the Capitol. Liberation Day in D.C. is here. I mean, I'm telling you, this would go a long way to cleaning up the mess that has been made of our Capitol. President, I'm more excited to see a president who's muscularly addressing the problem that has plagued the city for so long. And I mean, if you can feel it walking around, it's not gotten any better. It's gotten a lot worse. And this is exactly what you need. So I am very thrilled about this. President Trump, again, expecting him any minute now. I see some comments asking where Benny is. Again, Benny's traveling, documenting some pretty awesome stuff. You probably saw our expose on Jasmine Crockett showing how she's an absolute fraud, and that we're not done yet. We've got a lot more very, very cool projects coming, and those will be released. I mean, literally very, very shortly. And so you will see it on the channel first. So that's where Benny is. I'm Danny. I'm filling in, trying to do my best, trying to keep it together because we're not going to miss a second. We're going to go obviously directly to Trump whenever he comes out. This is too big of a moment to miss. And so, again, people are asking, where's Trump? Somewhere behind those blue doors is all I can tell you. Here you can see our Jasmine Crockett video. Oh, my goodness. Yasmin. Yeah, I mean, I can. That clip is muted, and I can hear it. I can hear the screeching in my ear. It is pretty. Oh, Yasmin, one of our favorites. She was selected to be exposed this week, and rightfully so. She's not having a good week from what I hear after this dropped. So yep, more panic in DC. Criminals and Jasmine Crockett are both panicking. Oh man, here we go. Again, I'm like tempted to break away, but at the same time, like you see every single camera pointed directly at the podium. I'm telling you, President Trump is going to walk out any moment, and so I'm just very hesitant to miss it. We have a flashback clip of President Trump also talking about federalizing DC. So he's talked about this multiple times. It's definitely on his mind, and I don't think he's playing around. You saw it this weekend. We have footage of federal agents roaming DC more than they were before, patrolling crime, patrolling, the safety of our city. And so I think when you hear President Trump talking about federalizing DC multiple times, I don't think he's playing around. And this could be a really big announcement we're about to hear. Getting it to watch it live is going to be pretty exciting. So in the meantime, while we wait for President Trump, and we'll break away whenever he does walk out, let's play this flashback clip of President Trump discussing federalizing DC. It's a big one.
Do you think DC should govern itself, or do you think that governing of District of Columbia should go back to Congress?
I think that we should govern District of Columbia. It's so important, the DC situation. I think that we should run it strong, run it with law and order, make it absolutely flawlessly beautiful. And I think we should take over Washington, D.C., make it safe. People are getting killed. People are being hurt. You have a great police department there, but somehow they're not utilized properly. We should govern D.C. I think the federal government should take over the governance of D.C. and run it really, really properly. And I like the mayor. I get along great with the mayor. But they're not doing the job. Too much crime, too much graffiti, too many tents on the lawns of these magnificent lawns, and there's tents, and, you know, it's a sad thing. You know, homeless people all over the place, and we got to take care of the homeless. But you can't have that in Washington, D.C. You know, when they come over to see me, like Macron is coming, and the Prime Minister of UK is coming, and all these people are coming over to see me. We'll have ultimately President Xi, and we'll have everybody coming, right? And you can't let that be. You just can't let that happen. You can't have tents all over your once magnificent plazas and lawns and all. You just can't do it.
Okay, I mean, there you go. There's President Trump. You've been hearing us talk about Navy Yard a lot. This is, again, a very popular neighborhood in DC because it's so close to the Capitol. So you have a lot of members of Congress who live there, a lot of staffers who live there. It's sort of a big nexus point for everything Capitol Hill. And this was a couple years ago. You had a member of Congress. His name is Cuellar, in DC. He got carjacked at gunpoint. Like, this is, again, in Navy Yard. Like, this is your capital. This is your nation's capital. And you have members of Congress getting carjacked at gunpoint. We also have examples of FBI agents steps away from the FBI headquarters getting carjacked in DC. We also had this. I mean, this was wild. This was in Georgetown, which is like a very nice neighborhood in DC. And you had Joe Biden's like protectee SUV nearly get carjacked. Like, a person pulled up a gun on a Secret Service agent and tried to take the car. I mean, this is crazy. And these are, again, high profile examples of just the crime that's so rampant in DC. And you think it's just those examples? You're wrong. I mean, it is like, it's just endemic to the city. And these are just some high profile examples. Again, you see right there, FBI agent carjacked in DC. I mean, how does this happen? Like, it is so insane. And Trump's about to clean it up. And I could not be more excited for it. We have, again, you see the shot right there of President Trump expected to walk out. And in the meantime, again, many people are asking where Benny is. He's shooting things out in the field, and he's getting some very exciting content. You probably saw Jasmine short again, talking about, we're exposing the rot of the city. And so we've got a very special short we've prepared for you, a little preview of what that video looks like. And actually, if we have the full ready, let's just play the full. I mean, this is like, you guys are going to like this one. Let's throw it in if we have it ready. Awesome.
Yo, what's up, guys? We are in Dallas, Texas today, in the heart of Jasmine Crockett's district. It is rough, it is tough, it is hood, and it is foul, just like Jasmine Crockett. That's the whole persona, right? Puff talking, street fighting girl from the ghetto. That's Jasmine Crockett's entire aura. The attitude.
Looks like in the shitter to me.
The volume.
Don't tell me to calm down.
Calm down.
Because y'all talk noise
down.
and then
You're out of control.
The voice.
The congressional seat is over 4 times as large as my House seat.
I'm trying to get clarification.
But there's a little problem with Jasmine. It's all a lie. She's code switching. She's a fraud. And we can prove it today. This is where Jasmine says she's from, but this is where Jasmine's really from. Welcome to St. Louis, Missouri, Jasmine Crockett's hometown. But let me show you where Jasmine Crockett's really from.
Welcome to St. Louis, specifically the Republican suburbs of St. Louis, with the mansions, country clubs, and private schools. This is where Jasmine Crockett was raised. We're talking quiet suburbs, manicured lawns, college brochures in the mailbox, and neighbors who wave when they mow the lawn.
This is where Jasmine Crockett went to school. It's called the Mary Institute and St. Louis Country Day School. It's one of the most prestigious institutions in the entire country, also one of the most expensive. Check this out. This isn't just a good school. This is the #1 school in the entire state of Missouri. It costs $35,000 per year to attend high school here. And the reason why is because the average test scores here guarantee your placement in an elite college institution. It's one of the best preparatory schools in the world. The average SAT score here is 1350, and the average ACT score here is 30. This is an elite institution. Did your high school have its own private Wimbledon? How large was your high school's lacrosse field? This lacrosse field is expansive. Did your high school have its own aquatic center on site? Can Jasmine Crockett swim? She has no excuse because she went here. This is where Jasmine learned to play clarinet by the apple tree on this beautiful campus of the Mary Institute, St. Louis Country Day School.
Here we go. President Trump walking out. You can see there you have Pete Hegseth, you have Pam Bondi, Patel, Judge Jeanine. I mean, this is your all-star crew right here when you're talking about cracking down on crime in D.C. President Trump is set to take center stage right there any second now. And man, this announcement is going to be, it's going to be a big one. You can feel the gravitas in that room just by, the caliber of people he has standing right behind him. You have Doug Bergam there as well, Secretary of the Interior. Okay, we're just, again, waiting for President Trump any minute now. Got some movement there. Okay. Here we go. President Trump going live.
Wow. I've been up here a lot. I've never seen a crowd like this. I think we need a ballroom, and that's happening. It's going to be a beautiful ballroom. This is really a lot of people, most I've ever seen in this room. And we're here for a very serious purpose, Something's out of control, but we're going to put it in control very quickly like we did on the southern border. I'm announcing a historic action to rescue our nation's capital from crime, bloodshed, bedlam, and squalor, and worse. This is Liberation Day in D.C., and we're going to take our capital back. We're taking it back. Under the authorities vested in me as the President of the United States, I'm officially invoking Section 740 of the District of Columbia Home Rule Act. You know what that is? And placing the D.C. Metropolitan Police Department under direct federal control. And you'll be meeting the people that will be directly involved with that. Very good people, but they're tough, and they know what's happening. And they've done it before. In addition, I'm deploying the National Guard to help reestablish law, order, and public safety in Washington, D.C., and they're going to be allowed to do their job properly. And you people are victims of it, too. You're reporters, and I understand a lot of you tend to be on the liberal side, but you don't want to get mugged and raped and shot and killed. And you all know people and friends of yours that happened. And so you can be anything you want, but you want to have safety in the streets. You want to be able to leave your apartment or your house where you live and feel safe and go into a store to buy a newspaper or buy something. And you don't have that now. The murder rate in Washington today is higher than that of Bogota, Colombia, Mexico City, some of the places that you hear about as being the worst places on earth, much higher. This is much higher. The number of car thefts has doubled over the past 5 years, and the number of carjackings has more than tripled. Murders in 2023 reached the highest rate probably ever. They say 25 years, but they don't know what that means because it just goes back 25 years. Can't be worse. Our capital city has been overtaken by violent gangs and bloodthirsty criminals, roving mobs of wild youth, drugged out maniacs and homeless people. And we're not going to let it happen anymore. We're not going to take it. Yeah, just like we did on our southern border. Nobody comes through our southern border anymore. 3 months in a row, we had zero. I don't know if that's right, but the people that do the work, it's a very liberal group of people, actually, and they actually said zero for the last 3 months. Nobody thought a thing like that was possible. And, you know, when you say take a look at numbers, I just saw some charts. These are different cities throughout the world. Red is... Okay, the red is a place called Washington, D.C. Look at these. Baghdad we doubled up on Baghdad. Panama City, Brasilia, San Jose, Costa Rica, Bogota, Colombia, heavy drugs. Mexico City, I mentioned, Lima, Peru, all double and triple what they are. So do you want to live in places like that? I don't think so. I don't think so. And I think the people in this room, if you wrote correctly, you'd see, look at the kind of numbers we have. DC, 41 per 100,000, number one that we can find anywhere in the world. Other cities are pretty bad, but they're not as bad as that. That where you want to live? The reporters of the world? Juvenile offenders and crimes against persons, as they say. It's getting worse. Not getting better, it's getting worse. And we had a recent indication. There was a story about a man who was just left. He quit because he was asked to do phony numbers on crime. And we're going to look into that. I think Pam is going to be looking into that. But he was asked by the city, I guess, that we don't want to show the real numbers. Let me do numbers so it looks like it's going down. Not going down. And under Biden, it was a disaster. And nobody did anything about it. We're going to do things about it like you wouldn't believe. Every American has a constitutional right to be able to access and petition their government in safety, and countless federal officials and employees likewise have the right to carry out their jobs in peace without being shot. As you know, I lost a very good person a while ago, was shot waiting for his wife. He was in the car. They robbed his car. They shot him. They killed him like it was nothing to it. She was walking to the car. It's a horror show. This issue directly impacts the functioning of the federal government and is a threat to America, really. It's a threat to our country. We have other cities also that are bad, very bad. You look at Chicago, how bad it is. You look at Los Angeles, how bad it is. We have other cities that are very bad. New York has a problem. And then you have, of course, Baltimore and Oakland. We don't even mention that anymore. They're so far gone. We're not going to let it happen. We're not going to lose our cities over this. And this will go further. We're starting very strongly with D.C., and we're going to clean it up real quick, very quickly, as they say. Days ago, a former member of the DOJ staff was savagely beaten by a band of roving thugs after defending a young woman from an attempted carjacking. He was left dripping in blood. He thought he was dead with a broken nose and concussion. Can't believe that he's alive. He can't believe it. In June, a 21-year-old congressional intern was tragically killed after being hit by a stray bullet in a drive-by shooting. A former Trump administration official named Mike Gill, fantastic person, was murdered last year in cold blood in a carjacking blocks away from the White House. We all knew him. Great person. Waiting for his wife as she was walking to the car. A Democrat congressman was also carjacked at gunpoint not far from the Capitol. And in 2023, an aide to Senator Rand Paul was stabbed in the chest and head by a demented lunatic as he walked down the street, just absolutely for no reason. Horrifically, last July 4th weekend, a 3-year-old girl was shot in the head and killed while sitting in a car near the Capitol. It's becoming a situation of complete and total lawlessness. And we're getting rid of the slums, too. We have slums here. We're getting rid of them. I know it's not politically correct. You'll say, oh, so terrible. No, we're getting rid of the slums where they live. Caravans of mass youth rampage through city streets at all times of the day. There are ATVs, motorbikes. They travel pretty well. Entire neighborhoods are now under emergency curfews. Just this past weekend, gunfire went through, and you saw that, the Navy Yard. I saw it this morning. They saw that they fought back against, see, they fight back until you knock the hell out of them, because it's the only language they understand. But they fought back against law enforcement last night. And they're not going to be fighting back long, because I've instructed them and told them whatever happens, you know, they love to spit in the face of the police as the police are standing up there in uniform. They're standing and they're screaming at them an inch away from their face. And then they start spitting in their face. And I said, you tell them, you spit and we hit. And they can hit real hard. It's a disgusting thing. I've watched that for years, for 3-4 years. I've watched them. The police are standing, and they're told, don't do anything under any such, so and you can see they want to get at it. And they're standing there, and people are spitting in their face, and they're not allowed to do anything. But now they are allowed to do whatever the hell they want. This dire public safety crisis stems directly from the abject failures of the city's local leadership. The radical left city council adopted no cash bail. By the way, every place in the country where you have no cash bail is a disaster. That's what started the problem in New York, and they don't change it. They don't want to change it. That's what started it in Chicago. I mean, bad politicians started it, bad leadership started it, but that was the one thing that's central, no cash bail. Somebody murders somebody and they're out on no cash bail before the day is out. We're going to end that in Chicago. We're going to change the statute. I spoke with Pam and Todd and everybody. We're going to change the statute, and I'm going to have to get the Republicans to vote because the Democrats are weak on crime, totally weak on crime. They don't know why. They want to stop because they get mugged too. But we're going to change no cash bail. We're going to change the statute and get rid of some of the other things. And we'll count on the Republicans in Congress and Senate to vote. We have the majority, so we'll vote. We don't have a big majority, but we've gotten everything, including the great, big, beautiful bill. Got that done, and that's one of the greatest things that's ever happened to people in this country. They're starting to figure it out, how good it is. Biggest tax cut in history. So many things. But we'll be able to get that done. So, Todd, if you and Pam can draw up things working with the people, we will. I'll get it passed. We'll get it passed with the Republicans. Probably won't get, think of this, probably won't get one Democrat vote because they have no idea what they're doing. That's why they want men playing in women's sports. That's why they want transgender for everybody transgender. And they just got walloped in an election, in a landslide, and they haven't changed one thing. I saw the other day the certain gentleman who was a very well-known politician, Democrat, was fighting like hell that men should be allowed to play in women's sport. They just don't get it. They said it's an 80-20 issue, and I think it's a 97-3 issue. And I don't know who the three are. I've never heard anybody nobody's ever come up to me, sir, you have to let men play in women's sports. You have to do it, sir. Nobody's ever approached me. I don't know where this issue even comes from. Never seen anything like it. But they turned our nation's capital into a sanctuary jurisdiction. That's the other thing. We have to get rid of sanctuary cities as quickly as possible. We're going to do it, too. We have to. Because it's sanctuary for criminals. Releasing illegal alien gang members onto the streets in 2022, nearly 70% of criminals arrested in Washington went unprosecuted. That's not going to happen with the group we have standing aside and standing behind me. And at the Metropolitan Police Department, it's now reached a small number relatively compared to what it was, but it's thousands of people. You know, we have thousands of police. I was told today, sir, they want more police. I heard a number, 3,500 police. That's a lot of police. 3,500. I thought they were going to say we only have 30 policemen or women. He said we have 3,500. We need more. You don't need more. That's so many. I never heard. That's like an army. How could you need more than 3,000? It just happened 2 minutes ago. Sir, they've requested more police. Oh, what do they have? About 3,500. I said, 3,500? This is not a big area. It's ridiculous. What you need is rules and regulations, and you need the right people to implement them. And we have the right people here, that I can tell you. Look at the border. Biden said, there's nothing you can do. Kamala was the border czar. She never called one of the Border Patrol agents who are great. ICE is great. Never spoke to anybody. Never went there. But she was the border czar. And everybody said it was impossible to fix. I fixed it in 3 months. No, really. I fixed it the first week, but really fixed it over the last couple of months. And I mean, literally to a point where, as I said, 0 illegals entering our country in the last 90 days. Pretty amazing. It's time for dramatic action. We're going to do the same thing over here. It's going to be a very safe city very soon. We're not looking to take years, because a lot of people die in years. And we've got incredible people in this country, except we have to allow them to do their job. And that we will deliver like nobody's ever delivered before. I actually think it's easy. You know, if you're competent, it's easy. If you're incompetent, it's impossible. But I'm very competent. Last week, my administration surged 500 federal agents into the district, including from the FBI, ATF, DEA, Park Police, the U.S. Marshal Service, the Secret Service, and the Department of Homeland Security. You know, a lot of nations, they don't have anything like that. They got some police, and they're rough police. They don't have DEA, ATF, FBI, Park Police, U.S. Marshal Service, Secret Service, Department of Homeland Security. They got some police, but they're rough police, and they do their job. They don't have crime. We're not going to have crime either. They made dozens of arrests, and that's what starts to happen. Again, cashless bail. Watch what we do with that. Today, we're formally declaring a public safety emergency. This is an emergency. This is a tragic emergency. And it's embarrassing for me to be up here. You know, I'm going to see Putin. I'm going to Russia on Friday. I don't like being up here talking about how unsafe and how dirty and disgusting this once beautiful capital was, with graffiti all over the walls. It's another part of it, by the way, because we're talking about safety, but we're also talking about beautification. We have the most beautiful, potentially, capital in the world. We always had. But people come from Iowa, they come from Indiana, they come and then they get mugged. Not going to happen. Keep coming, because by the time you get your trip set, it's going to be safe again, and it's going to be clean very quickly. We're going to replace the medians that are falling down all over the roads. We're going to replace the potholes. We're going to put a nice new coat of asphalt over the top. No, we don't have to rip the road out and spend 7 years building a new road because they cut everything. Because some designers said, well, we need 1/4 of an inch more turn for safety reasons. No, we're going to do it right. We're going to get it done quickly. So today we're declaring public safety emergency in the District of Columbia. And Attorney General Pam Bondi, who's fantastic, is taking command of the Metropolitan Police Department as of this moment. And I'll be making the appropriate notifications to Congress and to the mayor, our new DEA administrator, who's one of the top in the country. He better be Terry. If you're not, I'm going to get rid of you so fast. Terry Cole. Terry, thanks. Very good. We just got him. Most highly recommended person. and you'll be designated as the interim federal commissioner of the Metropolitan Police Department. Okay? And you run them tough. They're good. You have a lot of good people. You have people that shouldn't be there. You also have people that shouldn't be there. They got in there because of woke. But you have a lot of great police, and those people are the ones that want to help you. This city will no longer be a sanctuary for illegal alien criminals. We will have full, seamless, integrated cooperation at all levels of law enforcement, and we'll deploy officers across the district with an overwhelming presence. You'll have more police, and you'll be so happy because you'll be safe. When you walk down the street, you're going to see police, or you're going to see FBI agents. We're going to have a lot of agents on the streets. You're going to have a lot of essentially military, and we will bring in the military if it's needed, by the way. We're going to have National Guard. But Pete Hegseth will tell you about it. We will bring in the military if needed. People say, oh, that's so terrible. He's going to bring in, it's been used many times over the years. I don't think we'll need it. I think we've got so many great people, including the people that are in the police department with proper leadership. They'll immediately begin massive enforcement operations targeting known gangs, drug dealers, and criminal networks to get them the hell off the street, maybe get them out of the country, because a lot of them came into our country illegally. They shouldn't have been allowed in. They come from Venezuela. They come from all over the world. We're going to get them the hell out. They won't be here long. But some of these people, a lot of them, are homegrown criminals. And these are bad people. These are rough people. And this is just a list of some of the people that were given to me today that were criminals removed from the D.C. streets this weekend. They were rough and tough. But we're rougher and tougher. Look at these people here. Nothing, you know. They're not going to be your local school teacher. Look at this guy. He has killed people numerous times. They're not going to be an asset. They will never be an asset to society. I don't care. I know we all want to say, oh, they're going to be rehabbed. It's not going to be rehabbed. I'm going to ask Doug Bergam to come up and say a couple of words because he's in charge, as you know. He's Interior, but he's in charge of the U.S. Park Police. And I've heard so many great things about the Park Police. They're proud of it. They've been there for a long time. Their families oftentimes grow into the roles. They love the country. They love this area. So, Doug, could you say a few words, please?
Thank you, Mr. President. On behalf of the U.S. Park Police, this is the oldest federal police force in the nation. They were formed in 1791 by none other than President George Washington. They've got the awesome responsibility of protecting our nation's most sacred monuments. The National Mall, Washington Monument, Jefferson Memorial, Lincoln Memorial, Statue of Liberty, and out west, the Presidio and the Golden Gate area. These folks have tens of millions of visitors a year, the kind of people that President Trump's talking about that come from around the country and around the world to see our sacred and learn about our history and our sacred monuments. They've been doing a fantastic job, but they are so pleased, the rank and file, that President Trump is now allowing them to enforce the law. As those of you that live in the city may know, that the circles and the triangle parks that are spread throughout D.C. are actually federal park property. So the U.S. Park Police also have responsibility for that. These became littered with homeless camps under the Biden administration. All of you saw that. Since President Trump's executive order on March 27th, making D.C. safe and beautiful again, the U.S. Park Police have removed over 70 homeless camps. And President Trump also talked about beautification. They're stopping and enforcing the laws against graffiti on our monuments. They've removed over 80 specific attacks against our history with graffiti on our monuments. So they continue to do a great job, whether it's in their vehicles, on foot, or on the mounted police that you see around the National Mall. And President Trump, they thank you. The rank and file is so happy to be enforcing the law again. Thank you for your leadership. And they're excited about the announcement you're making today.
Thank you. Very good. Great job you're doing. Thank you very much. Pete, could you say something about the military, if you would?
Well, Mr. President, it's an honor to be here. And at your direction this morning, we've mobilized the D.C. National Guard. It'll be operationalized by the Secretary of the Army, Dan Driscoll, through the D.C. Guard. You will see them flowing into the streets of Washington in the coming week. At your direction as well, sir, there are other units we are prepared to bring in. Other National Guard units, other specialized units. They will be strong. They will be tough. and they will stand with their law enforcement partners. This is nothing new for DOD. As the president noted, at the border, we've got 10,000 troops down there who've been operating in defense cooperation areas, defense zones, where there's zero illegal crossings because of troops on strikers scanning the border. We've been protecting other people's borders for 20 years. It's about time we protect our own. And we're working with ICE and CBP. In Los Angeles, we did the same thing, working with the California National Guard, working with ICE officers. ICE officers deserve to do their job and not be attacked. We will work alongside all DC police and federal law enforcement to ensure this city is safe, this city is beautiful. And as I always say about President Trump to the troops, he has their back. And my message to the National Guard and federal law enforcement in Washington is, we have your back as well. Be tough, be strong. We're right behind you. Thank you, Mr. President.
I'm going to ask Pam, because she's now, as you heard me say, she's really in charge of a lot of what we're talking about. She's done an incredible job. People are going to start to see the fruits of her labor. And Pam, maybe you could say a few words about what we're talking about here.
Sure, President. Let me be crystal clear. Crime in DC is ending and ending today. We are going to use every power we have to fight criminals here. President, thank you for caring about our capital. Families come here every summer. Our museums are free. We have the National Zoo. We have the National Gallery. DC should be a place where everyone can come and feel safe. Behind me and to my side, we have some of the best career law enforcement and prosecutors in the country who are ready to take this on. As the president said, Terry Cole is going to be supervising the Metro Police Department. Gadi Serralta, our U.S. Marshal, is going to be supervising command and control, the entire operation. Our Deputy Attorney General, Todd Blanche, and I will be working with them closely, along with our great FBI Director, Kash Patel. Kash is going to talk to you in a minute about what we did in Virginia recently with Governor Youngkin. Many of you covered that, and it was tremendously successful. Not only that, our secret weapon here in D.C. is U.S. Attorney Jeanine Pirro, one of the toughest prosecutors and a former judge. And she is going to be talking about juvenile crime, how it's out of control here, and what she's going to do to fight back. No more crime rampant in our beautiful capital. No more teenage girls beating a disabled man to death. No more of that. No more drive-bys. We're going to do everything we can. And working with the ATF Director Driscoll and Commander of the Army, we're going to all work together. That's what we all do in this room. We work together. We fight. Do not underestimate one person in this room. We're going to make DC beautiful. We're going to make DC safe again. One other thing, just at the wharf a few days ago, the area of the wharf, Terry Cole reached out to me, not even nightfall, on the weekend, where so many families in tourists go. A guy's overdosing from fentanyl on a park bench. In the middle of families around, they administer Narcan and saved his life. No more of that. The President of the United States is going to clean up DC, and we're going to be there to help him, and we're going to be successful. Thank you.
Thank you, Ben. Cash, talk about Northern Virginia. If you Northern Virginia, we had a big success.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Attorney General Bondi, for your leadership, Deputy Attorney General, and the rest of our interagency partners. Mr. President, the following is what happens when you let good cops be cops. And I just want to highlight that before I get into Northern Virginia. This year alone, under President Trump's administration, we've had over 4,000 child victims identified and found. That's a 33% increase from the same time period last year. 33% increase. We've had a seizure of 1,500 kilograms of fentanyl up to this date. That is a 25% increase since the same time period last year. And just to put it in perspective, 1,500 kilograms of fentanyl is enough to kill 115 million Americans. 115 million Americans. Cops are getting after it. The FBI has arrested 19,000 people this year alone. Thanks to President Trump's administrations, that's double than where we were this time last year. And we have also arrested 1,600 people who have committed violent acts against children. 270 of them are human traffickers of children. Mr. President, this is what happens when you have great leadership at the Attorney General with Pam Bondi. Your administration's priority of protecting the homeland and protecting American citizens and protecting our children, and the murder rates are plummeting. We are now able to report that the murder rate is on track to be the lowest in U.S. history, in modern recorded U.S. history, thanks to this team behind me and President Trump's priorities. And how do we do it? And what are we going to bring to D.C.? What we did in Northern Virginia, thanks to Terry Cole and Governor Youngkin and the team, we stood up a task force out in my Northern Virginia field office, and we said, let's let good cops be cops. Let's get them the intelligence and what they need, and let's get the red tape out of their way, and let's get DOJ partnered up with us to bring great prosecutions. And that's exactly what we did. In 1 month, we arrested 545 violent felons, 545 in the state of Virginia, thanks to Governor Youngkin's partnership. And that simplicity in law enforcement is what's coming to Washington, D.C. When you let good cops be cops, when you give them the intel they need, when you work with our Homeland Security Task Force, when you work with Terry and Gaddy and I go way back to Miami, these guys are great leaders of the respective departments and law enforcement capacities. And when you have the DOJ and President Trump driving behind this mission, we are going to clean up Washington, D.C., and we're going to do it the right way, the lawful way, and we're going to make sure Washington, D.C. is safe again. Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Attorney General.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Cash. So the process begins right now. It actually started over the weekend. We confronted a lot of very bad people, but it's going to be something that will be pretty amazing to you as you watch it. And I think most of you say it's a beautiful thing to do it right. We're going to be removing homeless encampments from all over our parks, our beautiful, beautiful parks, which now a lot of people can't walk on. They're very dirty, got a lot of problems. But we've already started that. We're moving the encampments away, trying to take care of people. Some of those people, we don't know how they even got there. Some of those people are from different countries, different parts of the world. Nobody knows who they are. They have no idea, but they're there. Getting rid of the people from underpasses and public spaces from all over the city. There are many places that they can go, and we're going to help them as much as you can help. But they'll not be allowed to turn our capital into a wasteland for the world to see. The Metropolitan Police Department and the federal authorities will be supported in the effort, a really big effort, the 800 DC National Guardsmen that we'll put on, and much more if necessary, much more. You remember I said, I offered 10,000 once. Remember I said to a certain person, a person who I thought always was highly overrated, not very competent. But I said, if you need them, we'll give you 10,000 of the military or the National Guard. They turned me down. But if necessary, we're going to move service members directly to joining the Guardsmen, and that'll take place very rapidly, and that'll be done in conjunction with Pam and with Pete and everybody else. Washington, D.C. should be one of the safest, cleanest, and most beautiful cities anywhere in the world, and we're going to make it that. We're going to make it safe. We're going to make it smart. We're going to make it beautiful, so beautiful. Some of the buildings, we're going to add to it. You see what we've done at the White House. White House is a whole different building. I do that in my part-time because it's a natural instinct as a real estate person. I was very good at that, and I was very good at fixing things up. I like fixing things up. You see what's happening. The marble floors are being reinstalled, renovated, fixed. The whole place is becoming very beautiful. We're going to be adding a magnificent ballroom, most beautiful ballroom, I think, anywhere. We need it. I would have certainly loved to have had it today. I think we would have filled it up. A lot of you are standing outside, can't get in this room. I've never seen the room like this, which tells me that you want to talk about, I mean, this was a D.C. news conference. It tells me that you want to talk about crime in D.C. and beautification of D.C., but I'm going to put that's easy. And I think, frankly, fixing the crime with the pros, fixing the crime is easy, too. A person who I've known for a long time, and she's been incredible. She was a fantastic, one of the best ever district attorneys in New York. She was in Westchester, and she became a judge, very successful judge. And then she went into showbiz because she was such a good DA and such a good judge, tough judge, but fair, always fair. Nobody ever complained about that, but she was tough. And because of that and her reputation, she went into showbiz. So a lot of people don't, they think of Jeanine as showbiz. Actually, showbiz was not her thing. And she did great. She was on along with a couple of other of my friends on the #1 show. And she did great, but this is what she loves doing. This is really her baby. What she's going to do is going to be incredible. And I'd like to speak for just a few seconds on what she has in mind, what she wants to do. We're going to be appointing some judges. We have some open spots, and we're going to take people because the judges are letting killers out. They're just saying, go, that's okay, don't worry about it. So we're putting some Pam recommended, Todd recommended, some judges that are great. Jeanine recommended. Jeanine's given me 3 great candidates already. We have about 10 open spots, and we can probably create some more. We need them. Jeanine, would you say a few words, please?
Thank you very much, Mr. President, and thank you, Madam Attorney General, and to all my partners here. We all want the same thing. We all want a safe city. We want a safe capital. We want to be able to bring our families here. We want to be able to come and enjoy the history that makes this place great. And unfortunately, we are not in that position right now. And Mr. President, I want to thank you for taking the step that we need right now to make criminals understand that they are not going to get away with it anymore. And I'm not going to stand here and go over and over the cases. But what I can tell you is this. I see too much violent crime being committed by young punks who think that they can get together in gangs and crews and beat the hell out of you or anyone else. They don't care where they are. They can be in DuPont Circle, but they know that we can't touch them. Why? Because the laws are weak. I can't touch you if you're 14, 15, 16, 17 years old and you have a gun. I convict someone of shooting another person with an illegal gun on a public bus in the chest, intent to kill. I convict him. And you know what the judge gives him? Probation. Says you should go to college. We need to go after the DC Council and their absurd laws. We need to get rid of this concept of, no cash bail. We need to recognize that the people who matter are the law-abiding citizens. And it starts today. But it's not going to end today because the president is going to do everything we need to do to make sure that these emboldened criminals understand we see you, we're watching you, and we're going to change the law to catch you. And my final note is this. These kids understand that the jurisdiction is through the state attorney general, Brian Schwab. I did a poster of the young man from Doge who was beaten bloody with a severe concussion, a broken nose. And then I did a poster of what happens to those kids because I can't arrest them. I can't prosecute them. They go to family court and they get to do yoga and arts and crafts. Enough. It changes today. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Jeanine.
You're welcome.
Great job. Thank you. If I could, I just signed some executive orders. I'd like to have Will please come up and we'll let the people know what we signed. Do you want to put them down?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
A short while ago in the Oval Office, President Trump signed 2 crucial executive actions to deal with the emergency crime conditions we currently face in the District of Columbia. The first of these was an executive order, as President Trump said before, invoking his powers under Section 40 of the Home Rule Act to take federal control of the D.C. Metropolitan Police Department. Along with that executive order, President Trump signed the statutorily required notification letters to Mayor Bowser and to the relevant House and Senate committee leaders. The second major executive action that President Trump signed was a presidential memorandum directing the Secretary of Defense to utilize the National Guard to address the conditions we see on our streets here in D.C. It also authorized the Secretary of Defense to work with state governors to utilize their National Guard units if necessary as well. These are bold, decisive steps intended to combat the out-of-control crime conditions we've seen on D.C.'s streets for far too long, And I, for one, am deeply proud to be part of an administration that's finally coming to terms with these issues, sir.
Thank you very much.
Sir.
Thank you. So, just to conclude, Washington, D.C. should be one of the safest, cleanest, most beautiful places anywhere in the world. It was years ago. We had one problem that was a pretty big problem. The radical left got out of control and they started trying to rip down statues. And I said, let's go pass a law real fast. We're going to do it real fast, but we were blocked by the Democrats who do not want safety. Nobody gets it. I don't get it. They don't get it because they can't get votes. I don't know how they can win an election with this, but they don't want safety. And I found an old statute, very old, early 1900s, that said if you so much as touch or even think about destroying a statue or a monument in Washington, D.C., you go to jail for 10 years with no probation, no anything. In other words, slightly different than we have today. Today we have cashless bail. There you get jailed 10 years, no curtailed sentence, 10 years. And we took it out. Nobody used it. It was never used because, you know, it's harsh. And you remember they started to rip down the statue of Abraham Lincoln. I said, that's a tough one to rip down. He was pretty good, Pam. I think he was pretty good. When the ropes started going around Abraham Lincoln to pull him down, Andrew Jackson, others, and they were heading to the Jefferson Memorial, Thomas Jefferson. They're going to do a big number there. I said, it's time. And I signed that statute immediately. We had it updated. We made it use the same language, all passed by Congress. And I announced it's 10 years in jail, no probation, no anything, 10 years, no curtail sentence if you touch, so much as touch a statue in Washington, D.C. And it was an amazing sight, beautiful sight. Everybody just left. The ropes were hanging around Andrew Jackson, and there were two ropes around Abraham Lincoln. They left the rope, but everybody just left. And that was the last problem we ever had. You know, that was the last problem that we ever had with the statues. They were going wild. And somebody came to me and said, sir, in 1910, I don't want to give you an exact because you'll say, Donald Trump gave us wrong dates around like early on. You know, if I'm slightly off, they make you sound a little bad. So I won't put myself in that position. I won't put you in that position because I think everybody agrees with what we're doing today. But when I signed that thing, it was like a miracle. Everybody left. They were gone. They were starting to march down. They started the march toward Thomas Jefferson. And I figured he was always going to be safe. But they found something with him, and they found something with Abraham Lincoln. And even in the name George Washington in California, numerous places changed the name of George Washington High School and various other places. They took George Washington's name. This was a sick, woke culture that I think we've largely ended. And a lot of those people that were woke are now turning out to be the opposite. I won't go so far as to say MAGA. It's a very special category, but they've gotten out of that. But we have people that love this country and they love this really beautiful capital. It is. I flew over it the other day and I said, what a beautiful place. But if there's crime all over the streets, when you get there, it doesn't look so beautiful. But we're going to make it beautiful again. We're going to fix it with crime, and we're going to also, as we're doing that, we're going to start doing things that we know how to do, that I know how to do better than anybody, I guess, because of my experience from previous life. But not only are we stopping the crime, we're going to clean up the trash and the graffiti and the grime and the dirt and the broken marble panels and all of the things they've done to hurt this city. And we're going to restore the city back to the gleaming capital that everybody wants it to be. It's going to be something very special. All of these people are really tough. Could I shake your hand, Getty, please? You're going to be so important here. You're going to be that guy. I hope I don't have to fire him in 2 weeks because he's too soft. I don't think he's too soft. If I do, I will, though. Is it okay if you're soft, weak, and pathetic like so many people? I will fire you so fast. You're not going to have to worry about that. No, I think you're going to do a fantastic job. And everybody in this room, they may not express it, but they all want that to happen. You know, they want to be safe, and they have families too. So it's an honor to have such a large group. I've done this for years now, hard to believe. I've never seen this room so packed. In fact, I'm sure it's a violation of every fire code. But we'll let you stay anyway. You're taking a chance. And with that, we'll say, maybe if you could, oh, wow. We could be here all day long. If we could keep the first questions perhaps to this subject, and then we'll go on to a few others. Please.
Mr. President, thank you so much. Can you talk about how personal of an issue this is? You talked about flying over the Washington Monument and seeing the pride of what D.C. is. And do you believe that the status of the city, the cleanliness, the way that crime is low, is a direct reflection on how the country is run?
Yeah, I do. I think the Capitol, look, everyone comes here. They're all coming. All the leaders, they're all wanting to come. And I say it, I've said it again, but I'm really just quoting other leaders from NATO, from the Middle East, King of Saudi Arabia, Qatar, UAE. I was over there. We brought back $5.1 trillion of investment into our country. But a month and a half ago, I was at NATO. We had a great thing. They agreed to put up 5% instead of 2%. 2% they didn't pay, 5% is already paid. We had a great meeting, and they all said the same thing. They said our country was dead. They thought our country was gone. 1 year ago, they said your country was dead. And now you have the hottest country anywhere in the world. We do. We have the hottest country in the world right now. The tariffs have helped. It's given us not only the money, it's billions, trillions of dollars of money, but it gives us great power over enemies. We solved 5 wars with Pakistan and India. We just solved one. Azerbaijan and, as you know, and Armenia. A war was raging for 37 years. And the 2 leaders got up and they said, we never thought this would be solved. Russia tried to solve it. They all tried to solve it. It was a very tough situation, but we got it done. And I said to the 2 men, I said, are you guys friends? And they had a hard time. They've been killing each other for 37 years, right? One was there 5 years. One was there for 22 years. He said, my whole life I've been fighting this war. And you got it solved. But we did many of those. We did in the Congo and Rwanda. That's been going on for 30 years. 8 to 9 million people killed that they know of, but it was raging, and we got that solved. We got a lot of them done. It's a great honor. But you want to have, when they come, the leaders come to our country to sign documents that the war is over or whatever, or for other reasons. They come for trade. And you want them to come through so beautifully. You ride down those roads, everything should be perfect. You shouldn't have medians falling down into the roadway. Median, the metal things that are always, somebody had a great lobbyist, because I've never seen them look good. I've been looking at those things with the little, right? They're always broken and bad, but here they're really bad. And we're going to either put new or fix it. And it's not expensive. It's not really expensive. And we're going to fix our roads a little bit. We're going to clean up our sidewalks. You have countries where every Saturday, the people go out and they wash their sidewalks in front of their stores or their houses. They scrub their sidewalks. So we aren't quite at that level yet. I don't think, Gaddy, we're not quite there yet, but maybe we will. They go out and they scrub. I think it's so beautiful to hear that and to see those stories. But we're going to make it clean. But just to finish with your question, it's a very, very strong reflection of our country. And when they see a bad city, my father always used to tell me, I had a wonderful father, very smart. And he used to say, son, when you walk into a restaurant and you see a dirty front door, don't go in, because if the front door is dirty, the kitchen's dirty also. Same thing with the Capitol. If our Capitol's dirty, our whole country is dirty, and they don't respect us. So it's a very good question.
Mr. President, sorry. Question for you on the specific issue. Do you expect more cities to follow DC's path if this goes through? So the idea is that Chicago, LA, San Francisco, would they expect similar action what we've seen in DC? And the other question, sir, there's reporting that the administration is going to reclassify marijuana. Would that send mixed messages that if marijuana is okay, some drugs are okay, but we're trying to clean up crime? How do they go hand in hand?
We're only looking at that. That's early, but somebody reported it, which is fine. We're looking at it. Some people like it. Some people hate it. Some people hate the whole concept of marijuana because if it does bad for the children, it does bad for people that are older than children. But we're looking at reclassification, and we'll make a determination over the next few weeks. And that determination hopefully will be the right one. It's a very complicated subject, the subject of marijuana. I've heard great things having to do with medical, and I've had bad things having to do with just about everything else. But medical and, for pain and various things, I've heard some pretty good things. But for other things, I've heard some pretty bad things. The other part of your question, I mean, we're just going to see what happens with it all. We're going to have a tremendous success in what we're doing. Other cities are hopefully watching this. They're all watching, just like everyone's watching here. They're all watching, and maybe they'll clean up, and maybe they'll do this and get rid of the cashless bail thing and all of the things that caused the problem. I mean, if you go back, this whole thing with cashless bail is a disaster. So many problems came that we never had before. So they're watching us today, and if they don't learn their lesson, if they haven't studied us properly, because we're going to be very successful. I have zero doubt about that. It's going to be. It's a question of will it be really fast, like the border. Everyone said, they used to say, Biden used to say, I need legislation. I didn't get any legislation. I called up our people, and we did a great job. Tom Homan was great. As you know, our secretary did a great job. They did a great job. There's no games. They didn't play games. And we're going to have the same thing here. But then I'm going to look at New York in a little while. Let's do this. Let's do this together. Let's see. It's going to go pretty quickly. And if we need to, we're going to do the same thing in Chicago, which is a disaster. We have a mayor there who's totally incompetent. He's an incompetent man. And we have an incompetent governor there. Pritzker's an incompetent. His family threw him out of the business, and he ran for governor. And now I understand he wants to be president. But I noticed he lost a little weight, so maybe he has a chance. You never know what happens. But Pritzker's a gross incompetent guy, thrown out of the family business. But when I look at Chicago and I look at L.A., if we didn't go to L.A., 3 months ago, LA would be burning like the part that didn't burn. If he would have allowed the water to come down, which I told him about in my first term, I said, you're going to have problems. Let it come down. We actually sent in our military to have the water come down into LA. They still didn't want it to come down after the fires. But that was it. We have it coming down. But hopefully LA is watching. That mayor also. The city's burning. They lost like 25,000 homes. I went there the day after the fire. You were there, and I saw people standing in front of a burned down home. It was, their homes were incinerated. They weren't like, even the steel was literally, it was all warped and literally disintegrated because of the winds and the flame and the whole thing, like a blowtorch. They were standing on this beautiful day, maybe a couple of days after. We gave it a little time because what they had suffered, almost 25,000 homes. And you see what's happening now. They didn't give their permits. I went to a town hall meeting. I said, we're going to get you the federal permits, which are much harder. Almost immediately, Lee Zeldin is a star. He did an incredible job. They have all their federal permits. They don't have their city permits. And the mayor said to me, we think we can have them in 2 years. I was walking down the street, and I met with firemen and police. And I was saying hello to many people that were standing in front of their homes with yellow tape. You can't go in. You can't go onto the lot. And those people wanted to start rebuilding the homes then and there. And the mayor said, we should be able to get them the permits within 2 years. I said, that's a shame. 2 years. Are you kidding? I'm going to get them the federal permit like almost immediately, 2 years. And she roared back. Well, maybe 1 year. The place was booing her out of the place. They don't have their permits to build their homes. And now they're talking about this is among the most beautiful areas in the country. Now they're talking about putting low-income housing there. Can you believe this? I love low-income housing. I made money with low-income housing. I built low-income housing. I know more about low-income housing and luxury housing. I know about everything real estate. They want to replace some of those homes with low-income housing. They haven't gotten their permits yet. We've gotten all the federal permits, which are much tougher to get. And it was done almost immediately through Lee Zeldin and Federal Environmental. And I watched the other day, those people are angry. And now, they had they loved that area. They loved the whole big area, different places, but they loved it. It was all luxury stuff and beautiful stuff. And some wasn't that luxury, but the level of love for that neighborhood, their neighborhoods, was incredible. And you know what? I watched people on television. They want to go. They want to leave. They've lost their spirit. They've lost their heart because the mayor's incompetent. And Gavin Newsom is incompetent. Got a good line of bullshit, but that's about it. He's incompetent. And you have Los Angeles is, it's amazing. I called, the first thing I did, I got the Olympics to go there. I was the one that got it. And by a rare thing that happened, I'll be the president. I was very upset because I got the Olympics there, and I said, I won't be president when it comes. But bad things happened, and illegal things happened, really illegal things happened. Now it turns out one good thing was I'm going to be the president for the Olympics for 2050, for 250, which is going to be fantastic, and also for the World Cup. So we have a lot of good things, and I hope 250 is going to be the 250th anniversary is going to be the best. But when I looked at those people, and I saw last night on television that they still don't have their permits, it's a disgrace what's happened in Los Angeles.
Thank you. The China tariff deadline is tonight, but do you plan to extend that?
We'll see what happens. We've been dealing very nicely with China, as you probably have heard. They have tremendous tariffs that they're paying to the United States of America. And we'll see what happens. They've been dealing quite nicely. The relationship is very good with President Xi and myself.
President, you mentioned your upcoming meeting with President Putin. Can you tell us what you hope to get out of that and whether you consider inviting President Zelensky to join?
So you have to understand, this is a war that should have never happened. This is a war that wouldn't have happened if I were president. It would have never happened. It was the apple of his eye. I got along very well with President Putin. But if you look, under President Bush, they took a lot of territory. Under President Obama, they took a lot of territory. Under Biden, they essentially took the whole thing. It's just a question of time. Under Trump, you know what they took? Nothing. I was the one that said, you can't build your pipeline. That was half built. I came in, I stopped the pipeline. It's called Nord Stream 2. Nobody knows that, Nobody ever heard of Nord Stream 2. You might have not even heard it. Biggest pipeline in the world. I stopped it. I was not a friend of Russia, but I got along well with Putin. It's always good to get along with other countries if possible, but that doesn't mean you roll over like Biden did. Biden came in and he immediately approved the pipeline. I couldn't believe it. Then they say Trump wasn't tough on Russia. I wasn't tough. I was the toughest. Putin said, if you're not tough, I would hate like hell to see you. I stopped the biggest economic development job, the biggest job that Russia had ever built. I stopped it. It was dead. And this low IQ president came in and he let them build a pipeline and supply oil and gas all over Europe, So this is really a feel-out meeting a little bit. And President Putin invited me to get involved. He wants to get involved. I believe he wants to get it over with. Now, I've said that a few times, and I've been disappointed because I'd have like a great call with him, and then missiles would be lobbed into Kiev or some other place, and you'd have 60 people laying on a road dying. I said, that's cold. But it's a violent war. 5,000 to 7,000 people a week are dying. And there's nobody from here. They're all Russian and Ukrainian people, and some people from the cities, much smaller number, but still, those missiles do damage and they kill a lot of people, but mostly soldiers. And they're young soldiers, although in the case of Ukraine, they're getting much older. They're drafting 60-year-olds now. It's a terrible thing to witness. And I think I have an obligation. Look, this is Joe Biden's war. This is not my war. I made a deal with NATO a month ago. You covered it very accurately. Actually, we don't pay anything anymore. We're not paying anything. They are buying things from us, and NATO is paying us. I got it raised from 2% of GDP to 5%. And they're paying us for everything that we send. We're not paying. But Biden approved $350 billion. Europe has spent $100 billion. The money that's been spent and the death is incredible. It's the worst thing that's happened, by far the worst that's happened since World War II. So I'm going in to speak to Vladimir Putin. And I'm going to be telling him, you got to end this war. You got to end it. And he wasn't going to mess with me. This war would have never happened. We had a discussion about it one time, and we never had that discussion again. Would have never happened. And when the election was rigged, and then Biden took office, which was barely took office, the auto pen took office, bad things started happening. Bad things, stupid things were said. And it ended up in a war. And and I don't believe this will happen anymore because I have that pretty well covered. This could end up in a third world war. This could have been a third world war. I don't think that's going to happen now. But I thought it was very respectful that the president of Russia is coming to our country as opposed to us going to his country or even a third party place. But I think we'll have constructive conversations. Then after that meeting, immediately, maybe as I'm flying out, maybe as I'm leaving the room, I'll be calling the European leaders who I get along with very well. And, I have a great relationship, I think, with all of them. And I get along with Zelensky, but, I disagree with what he's done. Very, very severely disagree. This is a war that should have never happened, wouldn't have happened. But I'll be speaking to Zelensky. The next meeting will be with Zelensky and Putin, or Zelensky and Putin and me. I'll be there if they need. But I want to have a meeting set up between the two leaders. I was a little bothered by the fact that Zelensky was saying, well, I have to get constitutional approval. I mean, he's got approval to go into war and kill everybody, but he needs approval to do a land swap because there'll be some land swapping going on. I know that through Russia and through conversations with everybody to the good, for the good of Ukraine. Good stuff, not bad stuff. Also, some bad stuff for both. So there's good and there's bad. But it's very complex because you have lines that are very uneven. And there'll be some swapping. There'll be some changes in land. And the word that they will use is, they make changes. We're going to change the lines, the battle lines. Russia's occupied a big portion of Ukraine. They've occupied some very prime territory. We're going to try and get some of that territory back for Ukraine. But they've taken some very prime territory. They've taken largely ocean, in real estate, we call it oceanfront property. That's always the most valuable property. If you're in a lake, a river, or an ocean, it's always the best property. Well, Ukraine, a lot of people don't know that Ukraine was largely 1,000 miles of ocean. That's gone. Other than one small area, Odessa, it's a small area. There's just a little bit of water left. So I'm going to go and see the parameters. Now, I may leave and say, good luck, and that'll be the end. I may say this is not going to be settled. I mean, there are those that believe that Putin wanted all of Ukraine. I happen to be one of them, by the way. I think if it weren't for me, he would not be even talking to anybody else right now. But I'm going to meet with him. We're going to see what the parameters are. I'm then going to call up President Zelensky and the European leaders right after the meeting, yeah. And I'm going to tell them what kind of a deal. I'm not going to make a deal. It's not up to me to make a deal. I think a deal should be made for both. I think Russia has to get back into building their country. It's a massive country. I think they have 11 time zones, if you can believe it. It's a massive, it's by far, from the standpoint of land, it's by far the largest. They have tremendous potential in Russia to do well. They're not doing well. Their economy is not doing well right now because it's been very well disturbed by this. It doesn't help when the president of the United States tells their largest or second largest oil buyer that we're putting a 50% tariff on you if you buy oil from Russia. That was a big blow. And then they say, gee, he wasn't so tough. Nobody else would have done that. And I haven't stopped there. I mean, look, I was all set to do things far bigger than that, but I got a call that they'd like to meet, and I'm going to see what they want to meet about. I'd like to see a ceasefire. I'd like to see the best deal that could be made for both parties. You know, it takes two to tango, right? So ultimately, I'll have a meeting next week. I had a great relationship with him, considering the fact that, I was not nice to him because of the pipeline. I ended the pipeline. I also gave the javelins. Do you ever hear of a javelin? Javelin is called a tank buster. They say that Obama gave them sheets and I gave them javelins. If it weren't for me, all those tanks that were destroyed at the first days of the war, because the tanks got stuck in the mud, some commander made a better. They would have been in Kiev in 4 hours, going down the highway. But a Russian general made a brilliant decision to go through the farmland instead. And they just had torrential rains, and the rains were so bad, and it was mud, and those tanks got stuck in the mud. I don't know who that general is, but knowing Vladimir, he's probably not around any longer, because all those tanks were stuck in the mud, and they went along with the javelins. I gave them the javelins. You know that, right? I gave them javelins. They gave them sheets. But I'm going to meet with President Putin, and we're going to see what he has in mind. And if it's a fair deal, I'll reveal it to the European Union leaders and to the NATO leaders, and also to President Zelensky. I think out of respect, I'll call him first, and then I'll call them after. And I may say, lots of luck, keep fighting, or I may say we can make a deal. I will tell you this. I've seen a poll coming out of Ukraine. 88% of the people would like to see a deal made. And if you go back 3 years, everybody was gung-ho for war. Everybody's gung-ho for war until you have it. It's an amazing thing. I had it with a couple of countries where I couldn't get a deal done with one particular country. And I just couldn't. The guy's great. He's a friend of mine. Great. Good leader. Tough as hell. I couldn't get the deal done. And then he went into war for a short period of time. You know where I'm talking about. First term. And it was nasty. Guys being killed all over the place. And he went through 1 week of war, and I was able to get the deal done. He said, "This is nasty." Yes, please.
Yeah, just to follow up on what you were saying there. First of all, Volodymyr Zelensky is not invited on Friday?
He wasn't a part of it. I would say he could go, but he's gone to a lot of meetings. He's been there for 3.5 years. Nothing happened.
And what is the definition?
I mean, do you want somebody that's been doing this for 3.5 years? What's the definition of a good deal? I'll tell you after I hear what the deal is, because there could be many definitions. You're talking about a very large and complex situation. Now, I tell you, the war that I just settled with Azerbaijan and with, as you know, in Armenia was almost as complex as this one, having to do with routes, trade.
Meeting on Friday with Vladimir Putin.
Well, we're going to have a meeting with Vladimir Putin, and at the end of that meeting, probably in the first 2 minutes, I'll know exactly whether or not a deal can be
How will
made.
you know that?
Because that's what I do. I make deals.
Please
go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. I'm going to ask you two questions, one about China, one about Russia, if I could. On China, your administration agreed to send the most advanced or advanced NVIDIA and AMD chips.
No, obsolete. No.
Obsolete chip. Well, and then 15% of the
You
profits
mean the
come back.
20s? No. This is an old chip that China already has. And I deal with Jensen, who's a great guy, and NVIDIA. The chip that we're talking about, the H20, it's an old chip. China already has it in a different form, different name, but they have it. Or they have a combination of two will make up for it, and even then some. Now, Jensen's a very brilliant guy, and Jensen also has a new chip, the Blackwell. Do you know what the Blackwell is? The Blackwell is super duper advanced. I wouldn't make a deal with that, although it's possible I'd make a deal, a somewhat enhanced in a negative way Blackwell. In other words, take 30% to 50% off of it. But that's the latest and the greatest in the world. Nobody has it. They won't have it for 5 years. But the H20 is obsolete. It's one of those things, but it still has a market. So I said, listen, I want 20%. if I'm going to approve this for you, for the country, for our country, for the U.S. I don't want it myself. You know, every time I say like 747, I want, yeah, for the Air Force. So I just wanted. So when I say I want 20, I want for the country. I only care about the country. I don't care about myself. And he said, would you make it 15? So we negotiated a little deal. So he's selling a essentially old chip that Huawei has a similar chip, a chip that does the same thing. And I said, good, if I'm going to give it to you, because they have a, they have a stopper, what we call a stopper, not allowed to do it. It's really known as a restrictive covenant. And I said, if I'm going to do that, I want you to pay us as a country something, because I'm giving you a release. I released them only from the H-20. Now, on the Blackwell, I think he's coming to see me again about that, but that will be a unenhanced version of the big one. Like, I don't know if you know it, we will sometimes sell fighter jets to a country and we'll give them 20% less than we have. You know what I mean, right? That's the same.
So on Russia, do you see a time, Mr. President, when there could be normal trade between the U.S. and Russia? Should your meeting go well? Should there be peace?
I do. Yeah. Russia has a very valuable piece of land. If Vladimir Putin would go toward business instead of toward war, it's a warring nation. That's what they do. They fight a lot of wars. A friend of mine said Russia's tough because they just keep on fighting. They beat Hitler, so did we. And they beat Napoleon. They've been doing this for a long time. I asked a question to a very, very smart man that some people like and some people don't like. Viktor Orban, right? From Hungary, the head of Hungary. And he's in that same area and knows the two countries very well. I said, this was before Biden didn't do anything to get us out of it. He could have gotten us out of that. It would have never happened. I said, so can Russia be beaten by Ukraine? He looked at me like, what a stupid question. He said, Russia's a massive country and they win their country and they win their life through wars. They fight wars. That's what they do. He said, China beats you with trade. Russia beats you with war. It was a very interesting statement. China's not beating us with trade, not when I'm in charge, but they were beating Biden with trade, but they never beat us with trade. Don't forget, China had to pay $400 billion worth of tariffs when I was last time. That was last time. And if we didn't have COVID, all of this stuff we would be loaded. We're finding hundreds of billions of dollars of cash is pouring into our country now because of tariffs. And all we're doing is we're doing what they do to us. It's so beautiful to see it. They found last month, as you saw, $25 billion of excess cash flow. They're saying, where did it come from? I said, I'll tell you where it came from. It came from a place called tariffs, and we're doing very well. We're really doing well. But I expect to have a meeting with Putin that I think it'll be good, but it might be bad. And I'm here for one reason, to get rid of a war that somebody else started. Should have never happened. And if I could end it, great. Complex war, a lot of bad blood, But Zelensky's been there for 3.5 years. So if you put them in a room, now I will say this, ultimately I'm going to put the two of them in a room. I'll be there or I won't be there. And I think it'll get solved. Yeah, please be happy.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Excuse me, I'm going to suggest, because do you have any other questions on DC? Because I don't want them to be, wait. These are incredible people. I don't want them to be standing up here on subjects. Does anybody have a question of them? And then you guys can leave. Okay, a question, Brian, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President. All right.
And by the way, this is only on DC, and then they're going to leave because it's unfair to have them stand up here all day long. Brian.
I've got two questions for you. First, about DC. This is personal for me as well. Last year, I was robbed on the streets by one of these teenage thugs, had a gun, got away with it. Let's talk about the effort that between law enforcement, prosecutors, and judges, because it's a recycling belt. Like these kids go, they don't fear the police. They know it. If you talk about how we've got to get these judges and put these kids behind bars, adult crimes deserve adult penalties. And my second question, I'll after you answer that, please.
You want me to answer?
Or whoever wants to take it.
Okay, it's real. Do you want me to answer it? Here's the problem. Assuming that they're 17 years, older than 17 years old, I can get the case. If they're under 18 years of age, I can only get the case if it's murder, rob one, rape, or even if they shoot a gun but don't kill you, I can't get it. So the law has to be changed. As the president said, cashless bail. That has to be changed. All right, then even assuming I get the case, I get jurisdiction, I get a conviction, the DC Council has given the judges the ability to give probation on shootings. And so then it's up to them. All of these things, the Youth Rehabilitation Incarceration Reduction Act, and now they want to seal records. So if we work hard, we get a conviction, they want to wipe it out. So that needs all to be changed.
Okay, Mr. Question.
Pam, would you answer that also?
Yeah, and just back to that topic. Let's be clear though, we're going to charge them and we're going to track every single thing they do throughout every step of the court process and report back to you and let all of you know what's happening to them, because the people who are prosecuting them, the judges who are trying them, they also need to be held accountable.
Mr. President, you also made a comment. This is the most people we've ever seen in this briefing.
I've never seen
ever, right?
I've never seen any. Where's Caroline? Where's my superstar? Caroline. Is Caroline in the back? Where's Caroline? Come here, Caroline. Come here, Caroline. Come here. Is she doing a good job, by the way? Come here. Is this the largest crowd that you've ever seen?
This is definitely the most packed briefing, and I think all of you would agree. I think it's why we need to build a ballroom.
Mr. President, I have a better idea.
All right, Brian, go ahead.
My question is this. You're building the big, beautiful ballroom.
Yeah.
Could we build a big, beautiful briefing room? Technology, more seats.
I don't want to do that. I don't want you to be comfortable. So no, I don't want to make life comfortable. So look. Let's just do this. Let's do this. It's going to be a big thing. We're going to Russia. That's going to be a big deal. What happens, happens. I'll let you know what happens. You'll be the first to know. I'll be calling the European leaders. I'm going with totally. I mean, we have a lot of talks. They're great people. They're great leaders, actually, and they want to get back. Honestly, as one of them said, I've OD'd on trying to settle Ukraine. They've OD'd, meaning they've overdosed on the settlement of Ukraine. Not a nice expression, but boy, is it accurate. They're tired of it. They want to get back to spending money on their countries. You know, Biden gave them $350 billion. Europe gave $100 billion. It should be much more than that. Shouldn't have been that kind of, they should have had equalization, but they didn't. But you know what? Still a lot of money. They want to get back to building their own countries. They really want it resolved. My relationship with the European leaders, as you saw, is extremely good. It's perfect. It's beautiful. Wait. And we're going to try, I'll be in touch with them. I have 5 of them call me. You think it's easy. There are a lot of European leaders, but they rely on me, very much rely on me. If it wasn't for me, this thing would never get solved until the last person breathing is dead.
Would you talk to them before?
Yeah, I'm talking to them right now. So I'm talking to the European leaders. I'll be talking to President Zelensky. I'm going to get everybody's ideas. I go into that thing fully loaded right up there, and we're going to see what happens. Now, I think one of 2 things is going to happen. It's going to be a good meeting, and we'll go a step further. We'll get it done. I'd like to see a ceasefire very, very quickly. Very quick. I'd like to see it immediately, but I'd like to see it very quickly. And we're going to be dealing with the European leaders, and we're going to be dealing with President Zelensky, and hopefully we're going to have a great success. As far as this, what we did today, and I I think you were here for DC more so than even Russia, because Russia will be, we have a couple of days to go, but the Russia is going to be very interesting. But to me, what is very exciting, and we're going to take back our capital. We're going to make it beautiful again, but we're going to make it, more importantly, safe again. It's going to be so safe. It's going to be a model. And then we'll look at other cities also, but other cities are studying what we're doing. And you have some capable people in other cities. They can do it too. But we have a great group of professionals. We're going to have a safe, beautiful capital, and it's going to happen very quickly. Thank you all. Thank you all very much.
The Justice Department appealed the Epstein decision today, Mr. President.
How long will the takeover of DC police last?
We'll see you guys tomorrow. We'll have another.
We'll see the National Guard on their streets.
All of them.
Will we get more prisons out of this, sir?
But with better hair. From the border to the stage, Danny sharp like a blade. Homie, cut the bullshit, watch the truth escalade. With the warrior's heart, this vato never fades. You know it's prime time when Danny invades.
It's the Danny Show, where the truth gonna be. Faith and freedom on your TV screen. Stand up tall, run from CBP, but don't ever fear. It's the Danny Show. It's like a Benny Show, but with better hair.
From the border to the stage, Danny sharp like a blade. Homie, cut the bullshit, watch the truth escalade. With the warrior's heart, this vato never fades. You know it's prime time when Danny invades.
It's the Danny Show, where the truth gonna be. Faith and freedom on your TV screen. Stand up tall, run from CBP, but don't ever fear. It's the Danny Show. It's like a Benny Show, but with better hair.